That day, when he returned home, his family prepared a celebration ceremony. A big cake, a blessing, a greeting card. 1922, the year he joined the revolutionary ranks. 1989, the year he retired. And forever, best wishes. Forever a soldier, forever a revolutionary, and forever a young elder. The first Lunar New Year's Eve, after he retired, Deng had the children around him, just as other elders full of descendants do, to leisurely enjoy watching China Central TV's Spring Festival Gala. This is one big happy family. Whenever the family reunited, even though Deng does not like photographs, he was willing to allow his kids to organize a harmonious, happy family picture. The first picture of this family was taken in 1939, when Deng Xiaoping and Zhuo Lin were married in Yan'an. In spring of 1966, Deng visited Yan'an again. He specifically went to Yangjiling, where he and Zhu Ling wedding ceremony was held in front of the cave dwelling where Mao Tsé-tung lived. Soon after the wedding party, the husband was going to the battlefront. The young wife asked her husband to assure her that he'd write to her frequently. Deng said to his wife, "Okay, I'll write one, and let the secretary copy dozens. I'll send you a copy every month." In his wife's eyes, Deng was not a very romantic husband, but the sincere and loving concern between the couple made her believe that Deng was a sincere and genuine husband. In the children's eyes, he was a good and ordinary old man. His grandchildren were a treasure in Deng's heart. With the children, he was always satisfied. With that kind of satisfaction, one gets when enjoying his family's happiness. Deng loved life and loved nature. In his courtyard there were peony, fragrant plantain lily, Chinese rose, and Chinese herb peony. Each season there were always flowering blossoms. When the children asked him which flower he liked the most, he replied, "Chinese herb peony, because it is not only attractive, but it is also used as raw material for medicine." Connecting his daily life sentiments with application is Deng's unique appreciation of the fine arts. Deng was also a real sports enthusiast. He paid a great deal of attention to sports news. He was never too tired to watch televised sports programs. When a Chinese team won, he clapped with joy. If it was a gymnastics or diving competition program, he would call the scores like a game judge, usually giving the higher scores to young Chinese athletes. Deng was a huge fan of soccer. Once, a long time earlier, when he worked and studied in France in the 1920s, he pawned his coat for 5 francs so that he could watch an exciting international soccer game there. With this money, he bought the cheapest ticket. In his later years, he still remembered that it was the Uruguayan team that won the match. Once retired, he could watch sports games more frequently. In 1990, China Central TV transmitted 52 sessions of the World Cup soccer game. He did not miss a single one. After retirement, his biggest desire was to travel about like common people. During his lifelong explorations, Deng's trail could be tracked all over China. The brilliant civilization, the grand landscape, and the various multicolored nations' customs all blended into his special mood. In China, he still had several places where he had not yet visited. Those places always haunted him. In February 1978, on the journey to visit Nepal, in his special plane, he looked down on the snow-covered Tibet with deep feeling. Tibet, a mysterious land, was liberated without fight by the army led by Liu Bocheng, He Long, and Deng Xiaoping. But Deng had never gone to Tibet. This became a major regret in his later years. In 1992, when he visited the Miniature China Museum at Shenzhen, he saw Potala Palace. Deng said, "In this life, I won't visit Tibet. Let's take a photo in front of this Potala Palace as a commemoration." He sat on the revolving sightseeing platform in the Shenzhen International Trade Building and cast his vision on a misty Hong Kong. That was also a place he dreamed about. Deng proposed the great concept of one state with two systems. It laid the solid foundation for the Chinese government to successfully solve the Hong Kong and Macau issues. The five-starred red flag rose on the lands that were invaded and occupied by the Western colonialists a century ago. The concept of one state with two systems had originally been proposed to solve the Taiwan problem. He also wanted to have a look at Taiwan. He once said to the foreign guests, "There is only one thing left in my life. That is the Taiwan problem. Perhaps I would not see the solution in my time." However, he did not believe that this narrow strait of seawater could become a heartfelt suffering pain for the Chinese people forever. As a great patriot, Deng cared most about the Chinese nation's undertaking revival. In 1992, Deng came to Shenzhen again. Different from his last visit 8 years prior, he was much older, but the special zone had been matured and changed into a shining metropolitan city. Differing from his last visit, he went everywhere and talked to everybody. From him, people heard the following remark: "If we had not taken the risks, if we lacked the courage, we could not have developed along the right path." Be brave, liberate your mind, walk with faster steps. Such words transmitted the senior's sense of urgency.
发生是好多年了，几百年了。我们才多长的时间了？我们没记住是耽误了几十年了，都耽误了几十年了。我们现在面目不完全不同，再耽误不得。
It was as though this senior would like to exchange his remaining life for the youth of the nation. It was in his last 20 years that he played out the most brilliant part of his life. That year, he was 90 years old. He steadily stood in the cold wind on the under-construction Nanpu Bridge in Shanghai, as if he was listening attentively to the footsteps of passing years, listening to the sound of the tide of reform and openness. He looked, listened, and could not help saying, "Look at today's road merrily, better than reading for 100 years." His daughter beside him said, "For 40 years, I have never heard that you could write a poem." He replied emotionally, "This is not a poem. This is my innermost feeling." Perhaps on China's road to revival, he heard his own composed, non-rhyming poem. Deng likes swimming in the ocean. When he was 16 years old and seeking the key of hope, he left his Sichuan home to embrace the sea. Thereafter, he acted as a vanguard, assaulting the great ocean waves of his life.